to watch the bees. And I know that also from learning Perek Shira, which is important, I feel like, to learn that everything in reality has a purpose. God created everything with a purpose, and everything is perfection. When everybody in creation is doing their job, following their laws, then everything is perfect. Shalom, perfection. Shalom, peace. So when we observe the bees and we see that they are pollinating, then they are contributing to reality by doing their jobs, and they also allow everything below it. So if you're a bee, you're an animal, and the plant is able, now you've pollinated the plant, you've done your job, so now the plant can produce a melon or whatever type of plant it is, and it will produce whatever type it is. It's not going to produce a tomato if it's a melon plant. So it does its job, and then because it did its job, the minerals and the soil and all of the other things below it did their jobs, and therefore everything is flowing. Now, if the bee suddenly doesn't do his job, then the plant can't do their job, and then the minerals, what was the purpose of that? And also, when it does produce a melon, then now I, as a speaker, can eat that melon, and it will be good for my physical body. And also, on a spiritual level, if I am doing my job as a Jew, and following the Torah laws and understanding a little bit about what I'm saying in the prayers, when I'm blessing the melon before I eat it, which I also know what I'm doing because I'm staying conscious. I'm not doing anything by habit. All the laws are just the halacha is a fancy word in Hebrew for mindfulness. Mindfulness practice of the halacha. I know which shoe I put on first. I know which sock I put on first. I know what I ate. I know how much I ate because I'm thinking about that. And because I know that I have to maybe say another prayer, bracha achorona, depending on how much of something I ate and what I ate and what prayer to say. So I'm staying conscious. So I'm doing my job now. I've eaten the melon. I've said 2 blessings. I've been thankful to Hashem. I've thought about Hashem because I said, oh Hashem, that Hashem sent the bee. How does a bee even know to come here? I live in a ghetto. I live in a concrete jungle. How would even the bee get there? I contemplated that. Everything is perfect. God created everything perfect. When everything does its job, everything runs seamlessly. And it's so seamless that we just take it for granted. And we just experience our physical reality without even considering, how did the bee get here? How does the bee know I'm here with my melon plants? So Baruch Hashem, and then I know because of the information that there could be holy sparks because of reincarnation, because of our soul, because we're here to do our job as Jews. Tikkun Olam, what does that even mean? Oh, we're here to bring light into the nations. We're here to go out and live upon the nations and become the Nobel Prize winners and create the technology for there. And everybody should love us because we're making physical reality nicer for them. If the Jews didn't exist, well, they'd probably still be in the Dark Ages. Maybe, but that's not our job, actually. Our job is to stay separate. And we should have one goal in mind in our lives, and that is to reestablish the kingdom of David in the land of Israel and build the temple. But how do we do that? Well, we need to follow the laws, and we need to listen to what the prophets say. So when the prophets at the end time, like Isaiah in 65:11, say that there's a spirit of idol worship still in our world today called many and God and many. The merrymakers say the Malbim in the Radak, or Alish. I don't know, but definitely the Malbim. So he says they're merrymakers. Well, who are merrymakers? Well, the Hasidic Jewish cults are merrymakers. There is one truth, one practice, one book, one way, not a bunch of different ways, different dynasties, different leaders, different cults, which we can see at the end of the day have a lot of problems like pedophilia, which we all know that, but because we don't understand what's going on there, we assume that that's Orthodox Jews, and Orthodox Jews are disgusting, and we don't want to live also in their dirty neighborhoods. However, when we understand and we learn and we look for, like in the Talmud, what is Mani and God? What are these Avodah Zarah, and what were the Mitnagdim that have Mani, God, and Met in the name? Mitnagdim, 100 years of opposition to this crooked ideology. Why? Because at the end of time, we're going to experience a lot of things which we're going to have to understand. If we understand on 2 levels, says Isaiah in Isaiah 40, that's comforting. Comfort, my people. So when at 3 on Shabbat, let's say if a ballistic missile is fired and you're praying to God and you're a religious Jew, are you running now from the synagogue to the somewhere else? I mean, does that show any understanding? Why are you doing anything? But anyway, I am observing and experiencing by living amongst the Hasidic cults that they're not practicing Judaism. I know this because I'm practicing Judaism. So why am I not a Hasidic Jew? Because that's a different ideology. I'm not going to pick one of those when I am looking for the truth. That's the whole point, says the Anshe HaKnesset HaGadol, the men of the Great Assembly. So we need to be very careful, and we need to really know what we're doing. We need to know where our information is coming from. We need to investigate everything. Perek Sheva says that everything has its place in creation, and we see again that when I now eat the melon, like I said, bracha before, prayer, blessing after, and I know that I could be releasing the soul of a Jew who did not follow the laws previously. Maybe they themselves didn't say any blessings. They could be reincarnated into this melon. And by doing my job as a Jew, knowing what I'm doing and saying the things that I'm saying and thinking that I could be releasing this soul and ending its suffering, Baruch Hashem, by eating